Common Sense America with Eden O'Neill. Yeah.
And good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill, and it is Thursday. It is November the 17th. We are a week out from Thanksgiving, people. Do you got your turkeys and your hams ready? Whatever your traditions are, I would love to hear them. Please email me or also message me on all the social channels. I am very active on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, also on Rumble and on YouTube. And we are carrying Common Sense America here from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time weekdays, and then also on WHIGTV.com Sundays at 1 p.m. So we are really hitting some kitchen table topics today with Young Voices contributors. We are bringing to the show a new contributor to our show here at Common Sense America. I have Elise Amez-Droz. She is going to be joining our show. She is originally from Switzerland. She's at the George Mason University Mercatus Center, and she's going to be talking about rats, lawmakers, humans, and Uber drivers. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. I'm excited for you guys to hear her stories. Also, we will be bringing back to the show in the second half, Alexander Salter. He is in Texas, and he will be definitely showing his Texas colors this morning. But we're going to be talking about the GOP, the midterms, the House now ruled by the Republicans, and the Senate, and what he predicted in late October of the midterms and what is coming to fruition. So we're going to be talking about that. And as I always say, we are going to be doing projections for 2023. Are we ready for 2023? Well, I'll tell you what. And it just came out in the Epoch Times this morning. And also I was looking at the Wall Street Journal. But I am going to read this story to you. We are not going to be talking about it today, but I want to educate you. This show is about truth. And even though legacy media is censoring a lot of that truth to we, the American people, I want to bring you the truth here at Common Sense America. And it is, like I said, November the 17th. We are a week out from Thanksgiving, but I also want to just give you a heads up on what could be our winter and how we can prevent ourselves from being isolated and fighting already what is a mental health epidemic. Thanks, Biden. And not having to wear those stupid masks that don't do anything. So we're going to be talking about that as I continue through tomorrow, and also as we finish out the month of November with what is ahead. But let me just tell you this really quick story before we bring over our first guest from Young Voices. So the story in Epoch Health today, the Epoch Times, will you survive the triple demic? The triple demic. Are you guys ready for this? Experts, in quotes, warn of a pending doom. Okay, so story at a glance. According to mainstream media, people, so be aware, mainstream media, legacy media, i.e. mainstream media, they are saying hospitalizations for respiratory infections are on the rise, and quote, experts warn of potential triple demic this winter as COVID and seasonal influenza and respiratory RSV are in circulation. Again, mainstream media is pushing this content. Also, the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention reports a 1% increase in new admissions of patients with confirmed COVID. Maine, which has one of the nation's highest COVID jab rates, has the most COVID hospitalizations. Also, quote, health experts are now calling for voluntary indoor masking again, even though all the evidence garnered over the past 3 years confirms that face masks cannot prevent viral infections and spreads. So I'm going to be posting this article on my pages for you guys to check out. I want you to check out this article. It is very important that you read it. And if you do need a subscription, let me know. I will make sure I get you the content of this article. But at the end of the day, and at the end of the show, I just want to just warn you against what mainstream media and their content that they're pushing in regards to winter triple blizzard of diseases. It is a scare tactic, people, and I want you to be aware. On that note, I am going to bring over to the show and just momentarily Elise, who is with the George Mason Mercatus Center, and she will be joining us momentarily. But on that note, I am going to post this article for you. And this is in the Epoch Times, as we were talking about. So, actually, if you guys wouldn't mind, our first guest just privately messaged me, and I'm just going to take a quick break because I want you guys to hear this powerful story, and I want you to hear about her story and growing up in Switzerland and all the great things that she brings to the table. So we're just going to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Thanks for joining us this morning. I appreciate your ongoing support, and I thank you so much for joining us this Thursday. We'll be right back. And we're back. This is Common Sense America. I'm Eden Hill. You know what? I'm going to keep reading you the Epoch Times health article. Unfortunately, our first guest, Elise, is unable to join our show this morning. She had a last-minute hiccup, and my apologies to my precious audience who love hearing our kitchen table conversations. And we do love young voices and their contributions and their content. Unfortunately, Elise is unable to join us this morning. So, on that note, I love this show, and I love bringing you truth and content that will impact our kitchen tables. And so, as we have this time to really just talk and sit here about the kitchen table conversations, I'm asking you, the audience, as we are headed into the Thanksgiving season and also the Christmas season, I want you to get your checklist together. And I want you to kind of think ahead, what is coming down the pipe. And tomorrow we're going to be bringing over to the show Melanie, Money Talk with Melanie, and she is actually Debbie Rucker. She's so funny. It may be cool or quite chilly this morning. Haha. Yes, it is very cool and quite chilly for the 2023 projection. Yes, I agree with you, Debbie. But tomorrow we're going to bring over Money Talk with Melanie. Melanie Collette. She is a friend to the show. She is a personal friend of mine. And I mentioned to you guys as we were talking yesterday and as we head into the holiday season. So let's look at our budgets. Let's look at the kitchen table budget for our families, for our friends. And, what are we doing and how can we save money while the government and the rats underneath the Capitol Hill complex, and you can take that however you want, are spending our money. So I asked Melanie to do a breakdown for us tomorrow. So I'm going to ask you guys to get your list and check it twice. How are we saving money with traveling? Are we even able to travel this holiday season? First. Second question, Black Friday is a week away tomorrow. And what are the Black Friday sales that you are focusing on? Is it like the Best Buy type sales, the techie sales? Are we buying TVs? Are we going to Amazon and doing their special sales? Are we going online to QVC? Are we literally waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go and to do these tours? Is it a tradition? Is that the best way to save money? So I want to hear your thoughts on that. And then the other thing is, as we head into 2023 and the projections of it's going to be a cold winter. Yes, it is going to be a cold winter, but literally and physically, you know, and I sit here and say, my parents are in the great state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I know how cold it is already up there. It's cold down here. We had our first freeze warning last night here in eastern North Carolina. And, I sat here and thought about what are we going to be doing for those in the North who that is their livelihood, but yet our current administration sees otherwise. And so I wanted to ask you, what are your budgets and how are you saving money as we head into 2023? Are we cutting back on our food budget? Are we cutting back on travel? Are we cutting back on the things that we love to do? Spoiling our godkids or going shopping with friends or going out for meals during the week. What are you guys considering doing? Because the government doesn't know how to curtail their spending, but we have to. So what are you consider doing in 2023 projections? And I know Melanie is going to be bringing a lot of those ideas to the table tomorrow. So get your list out as we talk about that. Also on Monday, I'm going to just give you a sneak peek of what we are going to be doing on Monday. It will be the last show for next week because of Thanksgiving week. My husband and I are traveling. We are driving to Pennsylvania. We are spending gas money. We are spending money on the road, but we are going to Pennsylvania to be with family for Thanksgiving. So I do tell you, we are budgeting for that. We are considering the options of that and also spending time with family. You cannot put a price on family time, even if the Biden administration continues to seek to isolate us and keep us from gathering together. That's, you know what? Sorry, I said it. It is. You know it's wrong, but at the end of the day, you know what? God wins at the end of the day. He honors those who serve him. He honors those who walk with him. He is a God who is just. And at the end of the day, he formed and he made family to be together, not to be isolated. So I'm going to beat that dead horse hard because I want to warn you about what mainstream news is going to push down your throats as we head into the triple epidemic. Whatever. Come on. Natural immunity is the best, and you guys know it. Okay. So I went on a little bit longer to rant than I expected, but I just had to say that. Debbie Rucker, thank you. However, always warm with you sharing with us. Thank you, Debbie. It is Thursday. I'm a little slap happy. I've had a ton of water in me, and I've had a ton of coffee in me. And as I just been thinking ahead, not wanting to be anxious for anything, but in prayer and supplication, bringing my requests to the Lord God Almighty. And that is, it's a lot of things. It's one for people to be grateful for what they have. It's it's also for people to not lose their savings to a government that wants to spend it. It is to see our nation on its knees, to see our nation saving its babies, to see our nation living freely, we the people, to see our nation coming together again and loving one another and not being so divisive because of one person versus another. There's so much happening in our world, but at the end of the day, do we really genuinely love one another, or is it just a simple pacifying hi to get by and keep going? I think it's a handful of things, but for all of you naysayers of Trump out there, look who you voted in office. Well, kitchen table discussions. Anytime I invite anybody over to have coffee here at our home, these kitchen table discussions come up. Education, indoctrination, protecting our children, loving our children, making sure that they have a hope in the future. The next generation, what are they learning about? What are they engaging on? Are they going to school wanting to learn, wanting to become cats and dogs? No, that's not that's not traditional family values, and that's not what God intended. On Monday, my friend Salika Gonzalez will be here. She is going to be walking through our home. You guys are going to get to experience Thanksgiving and Christmas here in an hour. We're going to talk about our favorite Christmas music, our favorite Christmas movies. We're going to talk about also our Christmas traditions. She has some very powerful Christmas traditions she does with her daughters. She's a military spouse, so she's had to transition from A to Z, hurry up and wait mentality as a Marine Corps spouse for a long time. So she has come up with a lot of different traditions for her and her daughters. We're also going to be talking about traditions that I have been raised with within my family. One of my favorites is my father and I decorate their house for Christmas right after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Day, we usually decorate. The other tradition you will hear about more is the Mount Vernon Christmas ornament that my father and I exchange every year. And we have done a Mount Vernon Christmas tour for almost 10 years straight up until the pandemic hit. And that is something that is very special to us as well. So you're gonna be hearing some of those. And then we were gonna surprise you, but I'm just gonna tell you now. Just be prepared for what we're gonna wear. Ugly Christmas sweaters to the max. We're gonna be we're gonna be wearing them on Monday, and we're gonna be talking a lot about the fun stuff during the holiday season, lightening the mood, and also just talking about what the holidays mean to us. I would love if you guys would send in your holiday tradition stories. I have noticed that on my social accounts and on my YouTube accounts that these segments that I do, talking about faith, family, freedom, talking about our homes, talking about our traditions, have been very popular. So I'm thankful for your support in that regard. I'm also thankful that I get to bring these stories to your home. And there is a lot of things that people are facing. And politics aside, mental health is a huge issue that is facing our nation right now. Whether it was stemming from the pandemic, or whether it is the veteran suicide rate, 22 a day, or whether it is just dealing with life. Life is tough. And, you know, what can we do to take that edge off and kind of get through the holidays without being so down and isolating and things of that nature? Well, this show, Common Sense America, we really want to do that for you. We really want to bring some great stories to your homes, inspiring you, talking about our love of Jesus, our faith, our families. And yeah, we all come from families that may have issues. We all have issues. But at the end of the day, we have a powerful foundation, and that is love. Love is an abundance. And the love that we share with our neighbors, the love that we share with our family, the love that we share with our friends, that moves mountains. It really, really does. So I'm excited that we can bring these powerful stories to your home. Yesterday evening, my I call her my aunt. She's a family cousin and she's a dear friend to me more than anything. She messaged me and she said, after seeing pictures of your home for the holiday and Christmas season, she said, I really think that you need to submit your images and your stories to a certain outlet. they are doing a oh, what's the word? I'm missing the word. But basically, they're doing a drawing, and it's a $10,000 win, and it's also you get the Boston Fur um, brand per year, and I thought, what a great idea! And then another cousin of mine from Ohio, she's always after me to submit my images to Southern Living and all the magazines that feature home and decor. So I finally bit the bullet and I'm going to do that. And so we'll see what happens. But I will tell you, having done this show in the past 3 months, we're going on the 3 month anniversary. And I will tell you that um, it's really been special to me for people from LinkedIn to YouTube to Twitter to even the Facebook pages. I'm getting so many responses to the content that we're bringing to the show. Yeah, I may do my rants. I may do my rants on government, on Jesus, but then I also love to talk about our homes and our family and the kitchen table discussions that really are affecting our nation. But at the end of the day, talking about what we can do to make something more beautiful and being content in that time period. So I will tell you this though. I was looking on LinkedIn the other day, and my episodes that focus on military, veterans, holiday traditions, and Christmas season are the biggest ones that people are following right now. And so I'm excited to bring more content to all of those avenues. I've noticed news outlets are watching my show. Yes, it is a podcast. It was on radio. It is a podcast, and it is now on TV on Sundays. So I'm excited that so many people are resonating with my personal journey, my stories, and then all of the amazing stories that we're bringing here to Common Sense America. You know, it is about 9:23 a.m. Eastern Time. At about 9:35, we're going to bring over Alexander Salter. He's written 3 articles, and I want to tee those up because he will be doing the show. He is a Young Voices contributor. He has been on the show before, and evidently you guys really like him. I do too. He is a great orator. I really enjoy hearing his thought process. So the next few minutes before he comes over, and then we'll take a break, I'm going to read his most recent article that resonated with me the most. And this is why. It talks about common sense. The name of the show is Common Sense. My father named the show, just in case you guys didn't know. And I'm all about common sense kitchen table discussions. So I'm going to read you a couple of his articles. If you are following on Facebook and also on YouTube, I have listed his articles there. And I'm going to read the most recent one in the Washington Examiner that he wrote. It's an opinion article by Alexander Salter. He wrote it on October 20th. So keep in mind, this is before midterms. But what he wrote is so telling to today as the Republicans take out the House. So the title of the article is called Republicans Must Not Blow Their Midterm Election Responsibility. Let me read it again. Republicans must not blow their midterm election responsibility. Okay, so it opens up. Suppose you're at a bar on a weekday afternoon. You may encounter a known type, a male, late 30s or 40s, bitterly eager to tell you how his life went wrong. It all goes back to the high school championship football game. He was a star, courted by college recruiters, destined for great things, until a referee made the worst call ever, depriving him and his his compatriots of their rightful victory. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. How many times I don't know, I don't usually go to bars, so I can't really say I've been in this situation, but for some reason, I'm just laughing at this story. You know, we smile and we nod and we make energetic noises, all the while wishing he'd get his life together or else quit bothering us and we could drink his tea. But I know that many of us may have had, acquaintances that may have been in this scenario. Anyway, the article continues. Dear Republicans, you are that man. Led by the Biden administration, in parentheses, if you can call it leadership, the Democrat Party-run government has been a disaster for ordinary people. Raging inflation has eaten up the purchasing power of household wages. Hampered domestic energy production has made us vulnerable to our enemies. Law and order, both at the border and in our progressive-dominated cities, New York City, Philadelphia, Chicago, often exist in a moment. The midterm elections, as well as the 2024 presidential election, should be a no-brainer. Oh, P.S. Did you guys see Trump's speech the other night? I'd love your thoughts on that. I'm not getting too many people energetic about that speech the other night. So if you are energetic, send me your notes in the comment section on all the social platforms. I'm eager to hear what your thoughts are on Trump running again. Progressives have forfeited their last shred of credibility and paving the way for competent conservative leadership. And yet, Republicans are trying very hard to lose. Let's be clear, the GOP backed a loser in 2020. No amount of raving about rigged voting machines can change that. The Republican Party's standard bearer dropped the ball, and it was picked up by a time-serving, mediocre, who hardly bothered to campaign. That's Biden, i.e., you guys knew that. He ran the political ball all the way into the White House. The problem today, this is my favorite paragraph. The GOP is taking our best chance for better government and holding it hostage. Dear GOP, you've picked your candidates, including for crucial Senate races, based on a personality cult rather than political competence. Thank you. Thank you for saying this. Why is it, somebody brought this to my attention, and it makes perfect sense, but why is it that candidates need to have a former president endorsing them to win? Point in case, Senator-elect Ted Budd, couldn't he have won on his own merits? Perhaps not. Could he? That's a really good question, and I would love anybody who's listening from the state of North Carolina, what are your thoughts? Do you think Ted Budd could have won without Donald Trump's endorsement and Save America rallies? Or did he not have enough to run on to win the Senate? Let me repeat this question. Dear GOP, you've picked your candidates, including for a crucial Senate races, based on personality cult rather than political competence. Millions of people are counting on you to right the ship of state, reversing the national sclerosis that defines the past 2 years. Next paragraph. We need fiscal and monetary restraint to whip inflation. We need a secure and predictable regulatory environment to support domestic energy production. We need order at the border and crack down on crime. We need all of these things and a host of additional common sense reforms, none of which will come from Democrats. You Republicans are it. The choice before you Republicans is stark. Do you want to whine or do you want to win? Those of us who are sick of living through the national political farce hope you pick option 2. If you don't, you will deserve only common contempt. That's Alexander William Salter. He's going to be joining us in just about 5 minutes. He's an associate professor of economics in the Rawls College of Business at Texas Tech University. He's a research fellow at TCU's Free Market Institute, a senior contributor with Young Voices, and a senior fellow with the American Institute for Economic Research. So he will be joining us in about 5 minutes. And on that note, I'm going to take a break and we'll be right back. Thanks for joining Common Sense America. We love having you here. And if you are tuning in after the show, thank you for your support. We'll be right back. And for all those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. I'm Eden Hill. It is Thursday, November the 17th, and it is a beautiful, very cold day here in Eastern North Carolina. And I know for most of the United States, it is very cold. What global warming? Anyway, I am looking forward to introducing you yet again to Alexander Salter, commentator for Young Voices and a friend to the show. Good morning, sir. How are you? Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I saw you staring, but I'm like, I'm not getting a response. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Eden?
Good. Welcome back to the show. It's so great to see you. Happy holidays. Are you guys getting ready for Thanksgiving?
Yes, we are. I'm looking forward to it. I have a quick trip to Florida starting on Saturday, coming back on Monday or Tuesday. I don't recall. But then after that, no more travel before the holidays. So I'm looking forward to getting that done.
Good. What part of Florida are you going to?
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, nice. Very nice. I love
That should
Florida.
be a good trip.
Fabulous, fabulous. So, Mr. Texan here, I won't push too much Florida on you. I was teeing your interview up to our audience, and I'm going to tell you, I read all of your articles, but my favorite one is the one in the Washington Examiner, and I just read it. The Republicans must not blow their midterm election responsibility. I have to go there and ask you. So, what are your thoughts now?
Oh my goodness. No red wave, barely a red trickle. Everybody's saying it. It was really interesting that when I wrote that article, by the time I got it done and was shopping it around, I had a hard time getting it published because all the polls were predicting a Republican blowout. And so thankfully the Examiner ran it, and turns out candidate quality matters, running smart campaigns matters. And so all those hopes that the GOP had did not only materialize, it frankly made them look pretty silly. How can you not beat an incumbent party when there's a stagnant economy, 8% inflation, geopolitical turmoil, pretty much everything that could be going wrong is going wrong, and still voters wouldn't give the opposition party a mandate? That's got to tell you something.
It says a lot. I have to ask you this, and I know that we hadn't talked about this before the show, but I have to ask you, what are your thoughts on Trump, from the other night? I mean, it seemed kind of lackluster, and I've asked people on the show to send me their comments, but I haven't seen too many people excited.
It was an unusually policy-focused address for Trump, who's usually much more personal and energetic. But yeah, I think it fell flat. A lot of people are commenting, it just doesn't seem like it used to. It's not new. It's not fresh. It seems like we're going on for a sequel of a show that really should have been canceled 2 or 3 seasons ago. I just don't think people are excited about it anymore. It's not going to make the same impact that it did in 2015.
Well, I saw DeSantis say to reporters the other day, just chill out a little bit. But, DeSantis, and I am a huge fan of DeSantis, and everybody who watches the show is fully aware of that. His speech the other night, winning Florida, and he didn't need a political cult to endorse him and go along with him on the campaign. And yet he still won. And so the energy I saw there spoke volumes to me. It's like a young Jack Kennedy and his family at the very forefront, and maybe a glimmer of hope for the American people. What do you say to that?
The results really speak for themselves, don't they? To the extent that there was anything like a red wave, it happened in Florida.
Yes.
I think that tells you something with Governor DeSantis at the top of that ticket for the statewide races, the successful effort to make sure that you get more representative congressional districts that still return many Republicans at the national level, Republican success for the state house. All these things are going right. And I think that tells you that Governor DeSantis has stumbled across, well, I won't say stumbled across, has actually purposefully pursued a message that turns out to be something that voters definitely want to hear. You obviously have to wonder about 2024 ambitions, and some people are worrying that this is peaking too early. We do have quite a few days left. We have something like 700 days left before the next.
Oh, you counted. Okay.
So you don't want to run out of the gate too fast, but at the same time, it's hard to look at that success and see that as anything other than a good reason for optimism.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I read the whole article to the audience as we were transitioning, and there's a couple points I want to highlight with you, and I wanted to ask you about. it goes back to the political cult piece that you said. Dear GOP, you've picked your candidates, including for crucial Senate races, based on personality cult rather than political competence. Millions of people are counting on you to right the ship of the state, reversing the national sclerosis that defines the past 2 years. You know, when you said that, it hit me right between the eyes, because I live in this battleground state of North Carolina, and the senator-elect had Bud. And, you know, I sat there, and having run for state house, you know, I was in the same circles as him. But why is it that did he not have enough political competence to run his own Senate campaign, that he needed Trump to come here and endorse him and do a couple Save America rallies for him? And so my question to you is, what are your thoughts on, you know, now that we see he won, but could he have won on his own? And I wonder the same for other candidates. I mean, could Oz have won without Trump? You know, you sit there and wonder, and you see those two sides of the coin. What are your thoughts on that, especially as we head into this new Congress? What are your thoughts on that?
At this point, the Trump movement really is a general election loser. It's just not capable of sustaining a minimum winning coalition.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at all these candidates, what they were really good at is turning out strongly about 30% of the Republican base.
Mm-hmm.
That's never going to be enough to win a statewide election. That's never going to be enough to persuade independent voters and people in the middle who you need to break your way if you want to win these competitive races.
Mm-hmm.
Stop the steal is where election victories go to die. It's just not something that people want to hear. It's not something that you should be running on. Again, we have serious national problems. People want the opposition party to come forward with a serious governing agenda to fix those problems. Instead, they seem on relitigating 2020 over and over and over again. Enough. It doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. The American people aren't interested in going over these failures repeatedly. They're interested in looking forward for new solutions and new successes. Yes. Republicans had the chance to actually get that together and give it to voters, and they failed.
Now, do you think, what are your being in economics, knowing your background, I continue to bring projective ideas for 2023, because we are there. And if, you know, people are not projecting 2023 for their businesses, they got a bigger issue. So I'm sitting here saying, from the standpoint of, we got a new Congress, we got Republican majority for the House right now. What are your thoughts for 2023 projections from a federal standpoint, and I want to bring it back. I want to bring it back to the kitchen table discussions. What is that going to do to our kitchen tables?
The best thing that a GOP House does is it stops the worst of the legislative agenda that might be coming from Democrats. Obviously, there's a lot that President Biden and his administration can do unilaterally. The president has a lot of authority to govern via executive orders, something that I'm not terribly fond of, but that seems to be the current results of the system. Yes, we can and should change that, but that's not on the table right now. Because the legislative chamber is divided, I think that you can expect something approximating gridlock. Probably not as strong as during some of the Obama years, but at least you're going to get the House filter out some of the more destructive legislative proposals that would really already throw another punch at an economy that's already down on the canvas. That's going to give American businesses and American households some breathing room. At the same time, inflation is slowly coming back down, not as fast as I would like. It's worth keeping in mind that the Fed's economists themselves don't predict that inflation will return back to 2%, which is its target level, until 2025, which is a little bit strange when you think about it. If you're not tightening monetary policy fast enough to bring inflation down quicker than that, what are you actually focusing on?
So what are they focusing on? What are they focusing on?
That's a great question. I wish that I could understand this Federal Reserve. They seem to be really concerned with the state of job markets, which is, again, a little bit concerning because, one, you shouldn't be running monetary policy to goose the labor market. That's just not what it's for. And two, even very expansive monetary policy can't help labor markets for very long. One of the hard-won lessons in macroeconomics from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s is that there actually is no trade-off between inflation and unemployment. You can have full employment with 2% inflation. You can have full employment with 10% inflation. What matters is what market participants expect matches what the Federal Reserve is doing. And as long as you can get those expectations to match up, you can have a fully functional, hot performing economy with very low and stable inflation. I think that right now, though, you have a lot of people at the Fed who have a more activist bent and aren't really set on setting stable conditions for monetary policy. They want to tinker with outcomes. They want to micromanage. So they're much more focused on interest rate policy. I think that that's not great for long run American economic health. And I wish that they would be a little bit more serious at getting control over inflation. The truth is, we don't know what stable prices actually means in terms of the Federal Reserve's mandate. Congress has never told the Fed what that means. Stable prices. Well, how low does inflation have to be for prices to be stable? But I think the one thing that we can all be sure of is that right now, price growth running over 3 times as fast as the Fed's official 2% goal, that's not stable prices. We need to get that down a lot faster so that American households get some relief.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. You just said something about the Federal Reserve micromanaging piece to it. And, I sit here and outside looking in, kitchen table, veteran spouse, former candidate, former Trump appointee. And I sit here and say, I have to budget. I have to keep a balanced budget for our household. But yet those screwballs up in Washington don't have to. And I'm sick and tired of them, taking more and more of our money so they can go and freely spend it and then say, oh, it's back on the American people. Let's raise their taxes, and their economic stability is faltering already as it is. And so let me ask you this, and I'm ranting because I'm fed up. I am fed up like every other American person out there. I am fed up with the Fed. I am fed up with the Fed. I am fed up with what is going on within the administration. I don't even know. Half the time he falls asleep and he doesn't even know where he is. Okay, I got it on my system. So let me go back and ask you this. As we are projecting, we're projecting 2023, but let's also, tomorrow, my dear friend, Money Talk with Melanie, she's going to be on doing more of a kitchen table discussion on Black Friday savings and, travel for the holidays and how the American family can be economically savvy during this time period. So as we're seeing those kinds of breakdowns that you just referred to, what are your predictions for Black Friday? Do you think we're going to be seeing, this huge loss in revenue, or do you think people are just going to spend those credit cards, spend their savings to get through the holidays?
I think that you're going to see the usual pre-Christmas Black Friday surge.
Okay.
I don't think that it's going to be unusual compared to prior years.
Okay.
Right? Because you can't compare the Black Friday surge to the immediate weeks before. To get a real picture, you have to compare it to Black Friday last year and the year before
Right.
that, to
Right.
make sure that you're comparing apples to apples.
Right.
And so on the one hand, yeah, things are not great right now. The economy is a little bit stagnant. Inflation is eating away at household purchasing power that might reduce their propensity to consume. On the other hand, you do still have some pent-up purchasing power lingering from federal policy during the pandemic. From what I'm seeing in terms of airline prices, those things are going through the roof right now.
Yes.
So I think that all said and done, we're actually going to have those forces balance out, and we're going to have a normal holiday shopping season. In other words, in line with expectations. It's not going to break the bank, but neither is it going to make people worry.
Okay. Well, that's actually really good to know. I also want to talk about your other Wall Street Journal article that I was able to read a little bit. And I like the title of it. And I did not tee up for this one. So I really would love for you to just kind of give an overview, the kitchen table overview for this one. Jesus saves, but he's not a protectionist. Christians who decry international trade misunderstand the church's tradition. And I went on to further see all the scriptures cited. Break this down for me. Talk to me about this article, the title, and everything that goes into it, because I see you cite the Good Samaritan and just the traditions of the church and with trade and service to one another. Break this down for me and break this down for our kitchen table viewers.
Happy to do that. Especially on the right, and especially even more so on the religious right, there's been a sort of renewed skepticism of commerce, in particular global commerce. This idea that globalized economic activity, globalized markets, hollow out local communities, they destroy familial and other charitable commitments, and that especially Christians should be skeptical of them. So when I and my co-author wrote that article, we wanted to really dig into the church's tradition and say, is that true? What resources are there within the Christian tradition to evaluate commerce, to evaluate global economic trade, international finance? And although scripture, church teaching is replete with warnings about the corruptive effects of wealth, it's actually dangerous to be wealthy. Like, nobody disputes that. And by the way, by ancient standards, all of us are fabulously rich. So that's something that should make us all very uncomfortable.
Yes.
Getting back to the main theme, when the church fathers, when scripture is talking about this idea of being neighborly, when we're talking about international economic activity, commerce across political boundaries, the default tone and opinion is actually one of cautious optimism. This idea that God has divided the human populations and divided the earth's natural resources in a way that would actually make us dependent on one another, in a way that would actually make it possible for us to engage in mutual commerce to mutual advantage, to bring us close to one another. Commerce is a way for people who do not know each other personally to nonetheless behave charitably towards each other. And so by having that coming together, by having that charitable economic activity across international lines. And to clarify, by charitable, I don't mean like charitable giving. I mean the Christian virtue of love, like devotion of the will to the good of another person. By actually having that activity, we can actually bring communities together, lessen political tensions, and actually recognize our universal brotherhood. So it's simultaneously true that the church, on the one hand, is very skeptical about wealth and its effects on one's soul. But at the same time, the church is also cautiously optimistic about commerce and international commerce in particular. So we need to be able to hold those two thoughts in our head. We need to be able to be comfortable with those tensions because they're ultimately productive tensions. They can help us be better citizens and they can help us be better Christians.
Do you think the modern day church even resonates with this thought process and this, how you presented in the article? Do you think the modern day church is even remotely acceptable of this, or what are your thoughts on the modern day church? Because what I see in the modern day church is, having grown up in the church, having been the granddaughter of a pastor, having been raised in an independent fundamental Bible church, I've seen a transformation over time in the churches where it is not like it used to be. It is not the olden days. They are more and more setting apart, to the point where I've heard many people say, and those in the Christian faith say, they're taking down the American flag. They're taking down the Bible flag because they don't even want to even be associated with that. And they're not talking about the issues of taboo. They're not talking about what is happening in our culture and being Christians to be able to speak in the public square. So what are your thoughts on that?
If we're defining as the church the global body of Christian believers, I think that there's actually a lot of internal divisions in those communities over how you approach these issues. A lot of them are still very much traditional 1980s sort of rah, go for it. Other ones have been more skeptical. You're absolutely right. For my own part, I'm actually okay with the church being a little less politically engaged. I worry about associating too much the kingdom of God with the kingdoms of this world. And I'm certainly worried about ascribing to the United States a specific providential mission. That makes me deeply uneasy. But at the same time, I don't like people who want to steer the church away from being a public witness. One of the church's roles is prophetic. We need to be able to stand amidst these times and say, the eternal truth that we know that has been bequeathed to us from apostolic times tells us that these things that we experience around us are very wrong, and we need to reform them and we need to change. So again, we have the case of productive tensions. On the one hand, the church should not be anywhere near political power as an institutional community. On the other hand, Christianity does have public implications. It does have implications for the public square, and we shouldn't shy away from those conversations. I am not among those who believe that Christians need to check their faith at the door when they participate in public debate or vote. We absolutely can and should be Christians in public.
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. On that note, I am going to just thank you for being here. I absolutely love your work. I love your writings. I love having you here, here at Common Sense America. I just love the content that you bring. Alexander William Salter is an economics professor at Rawls College of Business at Texas Tech University. And his first book, also, I recommend going out and getting Money and the Rule of Law. Generality, Predictability, and Monetary Institutions. It's a #1 bestseller on Amazon. So if you have a chance, go pick that up, especially as we are preparing for the holiday season. And you can find him at Wall Street Journal, Newsweek, Fox News Opinion, and National Review. Alexander, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Safe travels to Florida. Make sure you get back to Texas.
Same, Eden. God bless you and yours.
Oh, thank you. You too. I'll see you soon. I look forward to many more articles and having you come back. So we'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
For all those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill. Absolutely love bringing young voices, Alexander Salter, to the table. I would love your comments, your thoughts. I have put in the comments section some of his articles and would love your thoughts. And also, Debbie Rucker. The lack of passion among Republicans running for office scared me first, and then I realized they were not speaking about solutions in a race where Democrats should have lost overwhelmingly. And then I wondered if there were even enough patriots left in America to pull it all off with a, quote, red wave. Well, now we know that all of these elements were responsible for the most embarrassing results when we should have had the largest one ever. Eden, I knew by our own local elections that contest and passion. And I think there was more she was writing. And that was, anyway, Debbie Rucker, thank you so much for your comments to Common Sense America. Alexander's article in the Washington Examiner really brings it home. And as we are, I know a lot of us are very kind of lackluster with what's going on in our nation. And you know what? I always said when I was on the campaign trail, and I still believe it, the most powerful speech, the most powerful decisions we can make are not on any Senate or House floor or any executive order from an incompetent president, but are the decisions that we can make at the kitchen table for the best of our family, and our community, and those who are very close to us. And that is what we need to focus on. So on that note, I am so grateful for all of you coming here to Common Sense America on this Thursday morning. We have a lot ahead of us, but we have a lot to celebrate and a lot to be grateful for. This morning, my first prayers were, what am I grateful for? Being reminded that I am a warrior princess. I am a child of God. I am saved by grace. I know as soon as my feet hit the ground, Satan's saying, oh no, here she comes. Well, you're darn right, here I come. And you know what? We need to have that mentality, have that attitude, because God does win at the end. And we need to have that mentality of faith and fighting for our faith in the public square, not being afraid to stand up for what we believe in. Saving our babies, people, saving our babies. That's one top priority here at Common Sense America. We need to continue to talk about. Also, the power of traditional marriage, the power of the family, the power of raising godly children, the power to raise our children who are being educated and not indoctrinated. We have so many powerful people out there who are fighting for our children at the front lines, and they need our prayers. On that note, I know we have about 5 minutes left in the show here at Common Sense America. I'm going to leave this up here for a minute or two while I take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our final notes. everybody. We have just about 3 minutes left here at Common Sense America. If you have not done so yet, please subscribe to Common Sense America on our YouTube channel. Also, we would love for you to send us your comments, your thoughts, your guest suggestions. We are bringing a lot of new faces here to Common Sense America, and I'm so grateful for all of the support all over the country, from California to Florida. We have amazing support here at Common Sense America. So send us your guest suggestions. Send us your holiday tradition stories. Send us your cooking recipes. Send us your favorite Christmas movies and music. That will be our show on Monday, November the 21st. Then, save the date, the week of November the 28th, going into December 1st, we're going to be bringing some great new faces and some returning faces to the show, talking all things Christmas, celebrating the season, tis the season to be jolly. I'm not going to start singing for you, but I want you guys to get excited. We have so many amazing stories to bring you today, to your home, to your kitchen table, faith, family, freedom. That's what this show is all about. On a final note, I wanted to bring you the latest story of Candace Cameron standing up for traditional marriage, standing up for her faith and her beliefs as she was part of the Hallmark Channel and one of the Great American Christmas, Great American Media. I am just blown away by Great American Media. I cannot say enough good things about Great American Media. And lo and behold, yesterday afternoon, I was scrolling through Dish. We have this number, and there it was. Great American Christmas is now on our Dish station, and we are watching Great American Christmas. I'm honored to support Great American Media, Living Country, all of them, and their app, which is phenomenal. No, I am not getting anything for that. I am convicted and believe for family friendly children. And on this final note, as we end the show, I'm going to read a quote that Hallmark actress, went from Hallmark actress to Great American Media actress, stated. She said, now with the holidays fast approaching and a Great American Christmas series set to rival Hallmark's annual Countdown to Christmas program, she hinted that, unlike Hallmark, Great American Family will present faith and Christmas, including marriage and the concept of oneness in the woman. She quote said, I think that Great American Family will keep traditional marriage at the core. And then Scott Stewart, a commented that Great American Family will never be Abbott, Bill Abbott, who is now the founder of Great American Family Media, etc., likewise emphasized the possibility of success in quote said, certainly, the year 2026 is your American there's no white person says yes, this is still, Candace Cameron sounds enthusiastic about the potential of Great American Family, especially young adults. She quote said, I think because it's for audiences that this is what they will love. It's exactly how Bill Abbott originally built his Hallmark Channel, she said. Quote, that's what Christmas is, traditional promises. So that's what the focus is going to be. We've got to start somewhere. We can't do everything. So, a lot of people are criticizing Candace Cameron on the traditional holiday